We are live? Are we live? Okay, I see us. I see us on the YouTube stream. Fantastic. So we have 26 people watching. That's really, really, really great. I have to say that I have watched a bunch of broadcast concerts. Um, I'm hearing a little bit of echo, but I'll try to stay above that. I don't know where it's coming from. Um, I have to say I've watched a lot of broadcast concerts since the shutdown, and we were trying all to figure out how to make really inspiring artistic experiences in this environment that we're working with right now. And I'm just stunned by this concert. I have to say, it's one of the most inspiring that I have ever heard and seen and watched. And so congratulations to all of you who put this together. All of our DMA members of our community, and also our producers, Pari and Sarah. And so it's congratulations to everybody. It's extraordinarily inspiring. So I mean, in a way, I look back and I say, like, how did it happen? How did we do this? How did you do this? It's just amazing. And it was so interesting to see the sort of intimacy of how we could look so closely at each person's performance. And it was really extraordinary. So that's that's my reaction. I'm overwhelmed, actually, about how great that was. I would be delighted to hear from you all, individuals, or from the audience who are logged in, who would like to submit questions about how the world did you do this? It was so great. Maybe I could start with Ben, actually, because Ben's piece was the one piece where everybody participated. Maybe Ben, you could describe a little bit about what the process was. How did that gorgeous piece emerge?
Sure. Um, Thanks for the question. Um, I have I've written two little sentences about the piece. So you saw some mountains throughout the piece. Um, Orogenesis draws from the performer's most treasured topographic memories of mountains. So we, in conversation a few weeks ago, um, I asked each of the performers about their favorite, most treasured memories of mountains. And you see those mountains in the backgrounds of each performer's solo. So we have mountains in Cyprus, Ecuador, Colorado, New Hampshire, um, all sort of channeled through the performances in this piece. That's more the inspiration than the technical how it was put together. But we can start with that.
Thanks, Ben. Um,
Are we
I
having
hear,
audio trouble?
I'm hearing a lot of audio collage going on. Yeah. Um, okay. Is the audio going out to the people who have logged in? I see 40 people watching now. Uh, I wonder, I'm hoping that people out there can hear us. Uh, so I'm looking at the YouTube chat, and it looks like people are not hearing us. So hang on. I did hear it. No, somebody saw something. Dimitri Chamblas is on, and he said merci, and he said same here.
Okay, we can hear. People say they can.
Okay, can people hear us? Because I'm seeing some questions in the chat, in the YouTube chat. For example, I see one that says from Gloria that says 2 questions. 1, did you all make your own videos, or work with video artists? And 2, are any of these part of larger works? In that case, is there any dissemination plan beyond today's showcase? Levi says, I can hear. Vinny says, I can hear fine. Max says, David is clear. So Vinny says, here, arg, spell check. Alan Etter says, I can hear you. Gregory Lewis says, I can hear you all clearly. Okay, so who would like to jump in on that question?
I can jump in on that, David.
Go.
I did my own videos. I edited my own video, and I think everybody, like, there's a mix of...
Can you turn up a little bit, Alkis?
Absolutely. So I did... I'm gonna do it like a radio host. I'm gonna bring my mic up to my mouth.
Do it, do it.
I did my own video work, and I think other people, some of us did it on ourselves, and some of us got help. Some videos, you know, mine was amateur hour. Let's be real. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And then in terms of the second question, in my for my own piece, I am imagining them as like smaller pieces that are going to be part of a larger work, sort of like an exploration for something more expansive. But yeah, I don't know about anyone else.
How about Sam? Maybe you could...
Yeah, I can jump in here with this. So for mine, I did do all the video editing myself, but my piece is about how we're not able to collaborate in a traditional, normal way, and we're separated through all this distance, but then also everyone's in my workspace every day, and I have this very intimate, close relationship with everyone, but we're spread across all over the world. So I had people record parts I wrote and then also video themselves while recording them and create field recordings of something near them in their space. So I didn't do any of the filming for my piece, but I did all the editing, and it was done by the other 5 DMA students in the program.
And actually, Sam not only edited...
I see something in the YouTube chat from Max Jaffe who says, Alkis, I love the process-oriented portion of your video. What were you cooking?
I think I was making caramel. Just a simple caramel, so sugar and water.
Alkis, could you start over? I had you muted unintentionally.
Yeah, I was saying that I was making caramel, simple caramel recipe, just sugar and water. There's something really nice about it, about the simplicity of the ingredients that and the idea of like you start with this like really small crystals, and then by heating it up, you get this like bubbly, crystallizing thing, and then it changes color, and then by cooling it down, then you get to that like more like a glassy looking texture, and there's something special about that process of how sugar changes. And my initial exploration with natural harmonics and tunings, that's how I was thinking about those sounds. I was thinking of them as like tiny specks, like little specks of sugar. And that's why I made that video for that.
Jimmy says brutal caramel.
Caramel, yeah.
Yeah. Sarah and Pari, I'm actually seeing all the chat questions on YouTube, so I can react to those. I'm hearing from Margot and Tim. I'd love to know more background on Joo's piece and the video. Tim says, likewise, Joo, that was great, and can you speak to it?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for asking, the Margot and Tim. Actually, my piece was really slow. I think it was one of the slowest piece in the showcase, and the sound itself, it consists of only the Hegum sound. I mean, no electronics or additional sound effects are added. So yeah, and also for the videos, the only close-up shots and the body of the performer close-ups were used. And actually, this was the exploration piece of mine that questions like what is beyond the performer's body, sound, and movement, and the instruments. So, you know, as you could see, the physical elements and materials and structure of the instrument were extremely zoomed throughout the piece, while like multiple layers of the sound were produced by a solo performer. They were continuously played. So, yeah, that was
Great.
it.
Great. Let's see, what am I seeing in the chat here? Alex says Sam did the videos for my two miniatures too. He did an amazing job. Ghost Ensemble, Ben Richter's video was compiled from submissions by each musician. Interesting, because I saw a broad geographical continuity there, even though I saw everything from, I don't know where you are in Connecticut to Maroon Bells in Colorado, but it felt like something very, very continuous. Did you go find the videos of these geographical locations?
I tried to track down video or at least still photos of each person's specific location. And then there were some general mountain videos there at the beginning. It was difficult. I was trying to make sure everything was public domain with permission to use.
Yeah, I know. Like when we talked about it, I had a Maroon Bells image, but I didn't send that to you. So you must have found something. Right.
Yes, the good people of Wikimedia Commons.
Right. And so, as you might have noticed, you gave me instructions to make overtones of E and F. And I chose, because my story was about hiking in Maroon Bells and suddenly coming across a bear that stood up out of a briar patch, I moved from E to F when the bear stood up, and then moved to a more stable place as the bear decided to go away.
And of course we had a bear for you there at the end.
Right. It was gorgeous. Absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. Do we have more questions from our audience?
There's a question for Alex. Alex, can you hear me on Sonobus? You have.
Let's
10
see. I don't
seconds
see.
delay.
Oh, Alex. Sam Wells did the videos for my two miniatures too. He did an amazing job. But then there was another thing. It says, I have 10 seconds delay. Wow. Question for Alex. Is there a specific quality or timbre you look for in your cymbals? Which ones do you use, and do you have a special affinity for a specific company?
Yeah, Alex, you can say directly to me, or you can put your answer on the chat or on YouTube.
Your microphone is still muted, Alex. You're
Yeah,
still
like
you're still
Alex.
muted. You're still muted, Alex.
Actually, I can only hear. I only can hear Alex. So he was mentioning that there's actually no specific quality that he prefers, but like his general preferences are like dark. What did you say, Alex? Dark timbre generally of symbols.
Right. We have a technical issue going on where the only person in the room who can hear Alex is Joo. So
Yeah.
Alex has to talk to Joo, and Joo will relay what he says.
Yeah. Hope I'm delivering right. Mhm.
Okay. There's a question from Margot who says, Emilia, would you talk more about your talk? Would you talk more about your piece as well? And then there's a question from David Reutzstein, and then Tim Feeney.
Hi. Yes, so the first one, well, all those pieces are think for vibraphone mostly. So it start with the vibraphone. It start just a game, me playing by myself, and then I decided to make, like format a little bit of what I was working on, and choosing a harmony that is driving the first melody, and the first piece was thinking in more a vibraphone exercise to develop speed, so you don't really stop in all the piece. And then I'm working in a duet with my dear friend, also an alumni, Martin Vélez, and he collaborated with me in creating the electronic parts. So we just we're working with the sound of the vibraphone, distortioning it and creating some layers and textures in different way. And then I create a way to basically a dialogue with the electronic part. What happened also in the second one. So you listen to the vibraphone always talking with the electronic part and sometimes playing together. And in the second piece there is a part of a solo on the vibraphone, and then it's kind of a transformation where the electronic parts start like growing, and the vibraphone is just a melody that repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats, and disappearing slowly. So yeah.
Well, there's a comment from Vinny Golia who says that most bears avoid the key of F. Well, the problem with the key of F is it has one black key on the piano. And the key of C doesn't have any black keys on the piano, so that's why Elton John plays mainly in C and F. So, that might be an affinity with bears. So, David Reutzstein says, did any of the ideas and concepts for the visual images come before the compositions, or was the music first in every case? Can any of you jump in and talk about how the relationship of the music and video coming before and after and integrated, or how you approached it?
I can talk about that a little bit. I think one thing about my piece was I was trying to write something that was specific to the scenario that we're in, where we're recording and editing. So the post-production process and the video making process really became integrated in the composition of the piece. Alkis recorded the guitar part like long before I composed any of the other parts. So the piece was like crystallizing in all these different ways. But the video is based on the field recording videos from everyone. So I think I wasn't quite sure what was going to come out, but I was kind of forced into certain ways, or I was surprised by the combinations that resulted from it. So it was really a result of the process of everyone's recording.
Yeah. In my case, just discovered Final Cut, and then we need to prepare the video, and I was ready to send a very boring video, and then I decided to be creative, and one afternoon I just put all the possible effects that looks good. So there wasn't already the intention of the images. It was just fun to do it.
Great. Anybody else about video and composition?
And also for me, initially I was really into those close-up shots of the inside structure and physical elements of the instrument itself, and my muscles moving and my body parts. So like that was really my initial idea for the piece. And then so what kind of sound do I have to put those kind of images? I was thinking, but I just finally decided to put a single layers and layers on the of the Hegum solo performer. So that's how I worked on video and audio.
Great. Anybody else about video and audio?
I'm a complete noob, so I'm learning as I go. It's I mean during these times, video, learning how to document our work, and also doing it creatively, and it's almost like learning a new language. So it's I'm still on the level where I'm just trying to produce something that looks nice, color-wise, and also have some smooth transitions, but I'm hoping to get much better at it.
And also, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I also really enjoyed taking the videos for Sam and Ben and Alex. Like you really had a specific direction and concept for your pieces that I really enjoyed. Installing the camera and recording that and shooting all the field recording videos and for the performance video of myself. And I really also enjoyed shooting the close-up shots, real close-up shots of Alex's piece. And yeah, I really enjoyed the whole process with the whole composers in this room.
That's an interesting related question is in the chat. Wonder if anyone can speak to how the others may already be influencing their compositional process, which I understand how each of you influence each other. Wonder if anybody would like to jump in on that question.
I would love to jump into that one. Because when I first came here, I guess my main influences were jazz and various genres of metal, and finding interesting ways of bringing them together. And then Ben, who came at the DMA program at the same year as me, he's, so like my music is like super rhythmic, like it moves fast. I like to shred, as many of you know. But Ben's music was super slow moving, slow evolving, long sounds. And I've started to, I think Ben's appearance in my life has definitely influenced how I think about composition a little bit, and just opened a new door for me, for sure.
I would have to say that everybody in the DMA program has opened new doors for me as well. I'm a faculty, but I learn as much from them as I don't know if they learned anything from me or not, but I learn a lot from them, and it's really fantastic.
We learn a lot from you, David. We do learn a lot. I'm not
thank you.
I'm not going to leave that unanswered.
Okay,
we
good.
Learn a lot. Yeah.
Great. Margot says, following that question, have any of you found that the pandemic has influenced your sound, aside from the obvious distance group playing?
I can jump in. I definitely believe that the pandemic made a big difference, at least for me. Not only because I was very used to play with a lot of people always, like big ensembles or groups, like always focusing on opening music and share with more people. So at the beginning it was super challenging, thinking, okay, what we can do if we are playing solo, or develop the sound, or kind of sound yourself while you're playing with more people. So it, to me personally, was a very intrinsic situation of reflection of how can I make my music different for myself and for the outside, in a way that even if we're far away, we can feel it close. So it was a very reflective process of feeling the music for ourselves first, at least for myself in this case. And yes, it was very challenging for me at the beginning.
Thank you. Greg Lewis had a question, but Alex has answered it in the chat. Says, did you perform 4 separate improvisations, or was each layer of your piece through composed? And Alex says, hi Gregory Lewis, I improvised the 4 layers with specific points in time in which I wanted simultaneous events to happen at 80 seconds, 160 seconds, and the final gesture at the end of the piece. Reed Smith says, did you approach group improv online differently than in person? So group improvisation, what was different doing it online from in person?
I have a few thoughts on this. I think actually we approached it the same, but at least for me, it was in like such an uncomfortable and different space. I had to like be constantly take steps back and check in with where I was. I couldn't always rely on my perception in the same way that I had in the past. So I think I applied a similar approach from before, but I was in a situation where I assume a lot of other people were really uncomfortable at first and hearing different things than I was hearing. I think that's one of the most difficult parts about it, besides the latency, is you actually don't really know what everyone else is hearing. You're not in the same room with them. So it's hard to really know how they're reacting, because they're reacting to something that you can't hear. So it's just such a strange situation, but I think at least I tried to use the tools that I already had in place.
Thank you.
I really agree on that. I actually never met you guys in person except Sam and David before, and it was like my first time improvising with you remotely from Seoul. It's like almost like 12 p.m. in here anyway. But yeah, I felt really surreal. I mean, I really agree on Sam that musically, musical approach was almost the same, but a lot of things I had to care on the videos and audio settings were really different. So yeah, definitely echoing on that.
Yeah, I would just let the audience know that I think Ben is in Connecticut somewhere, and Joo is in Seoul, Korea, and others are in the LA area, but man, we're dealing with people all over the world, which is really extraordinarily interesting what that turns out to be.
Yeah, but yeah, and also the rehearsing process was really a fun process. Like, even we are on virtual spaces, but I could feel that I'm getting more and more comfortable with improvising this way as we rehearse on and on. So really enjoyed that process too.
Great. David Roystein asks, was there any kind of a plan for the improvisation? Length, shape, mood, etc.
No.
Length. That's it.
Yeah.
Length was
Length.
determined.
Can I ask something for the people that is listening? I would like to know from the people who is listening, how was your experience as listeners of this improvisation? Because for us, it's probably one feeling while we are listening the others in our own universe, inside of our headphones. But I don't know what did you listen outside, and if you enjoy it, if you could follow somehow something. So it's my question for you, people.
What do you think, people?
guess while we wait for some responses there, I'd also like to say, uh, in terms of the improv, I didn't really feel, I mean, other than the uncomfortable space, I felt a similar thing as when I'm recording in the studio. Every time I record and I'm hearing my sound through headphones, I have to push through a specific mental block. And it's like, okay, what you are hearing right now in the headphones is not what 100%, it's not the 100% real thing that you're hearing, because the sound that's coming out from my speaker, I prefer 100% more than what I'm hearing through the headphones. It's just how it is. So I have to accept it. um, and that's a similar feeling. But in terms of connection and like improvising with people, I personally didn't feel anything different than that I would be in the room in terms of connection with people and like hearing what people do, which is kind of interesting because there's definitely some latency, and I think this kind of playing from, you know, what's the word for remotely with other people. That's not really like there's not going to be a big deep problem if you have good internet connection. Obviously, there's not going to be that big of a deal if things align in a certain way or whatnot. And obviously, you know, when you have a sick production crew that helps you out, and so you don't have to really think about, you know, connectivity and whatnot. That also helps a lot. So thanks a lot to Pari and Sarah and Bob Clendenen, you know, just once again.
Yeah, thanks them a lot. This reminded me of a conversation Vinny and I had the other day about this, and like kind of large group improvisation can be difficult sometimes. And I think what was difficult for me, and which is similar to Alkis talking about the studio recording situation, is that when you're in a room with people, even if there's a ton of noise, you still have your physical space that you're like taking control of or using to improvise with other people. But now I'm wearing headphones and everyone's sound is like inside my brain, and they're taking up my own like real estate. And it doesn't feel like I have my own space. And that's really hard to find how you fit into it. And I try to get to a point where I'm imagining almost where people are seated around the room, and like trying to remix it in my head kind of and see where I can fit in that regard.
That's really interesting, Sam. There's several comments in the chat about this. One I find here interesting is Gloria says, what I found most interesting listening and watching the improvisation was seeing how each person was listening to the others. It's a unique situation being in your isolated spaces and interacting. And I found that too watching it myself. It's extremely interesting to explore what we're dealing with now. So we're really exploring a lot. And I neglected to mention that Alex is in Taos, New Mexico, where we have had unexpected technical challenges in connecting Alex. So you never know what you're going to find out when you connect people from various parts of the world. It's something that we've explored. I've been involved in what we call teleconcerts for decades, but the current situation is very unusual. Let's see, we have a question from Lucas. Question for everyone on the panel. After all this experience with Zoom classes and live streams, any thoughts on music making, musical performance, and music education post-pandemic? These DMA people all teach as well.
I think that this experience to make everything online had also good ways to show us how things can be very useful using new technologies that we already had, but we weren't used to use it. So now that we don't have any other option, we see that it is working somehow, even though we missed the contact and being in person. But I think there is a lot of new possibilities with the online uh, classes, and also these new ideas of using the technology for a good way. So I believe that post-pandemic, even though we are probably seeing each other in class and having everybody in the same room, we can still use these technologies and don't forget that they exist, and we use them more and more.
Thank you, Emilia. I would say that what we're really blessed with is being in a community of incredibly inspiring people. And no matter what the challenges are, they remain incredibly inspiring. So that is what gets transmitted through whatever the medium of human connection we have access to. They're the same people, and they're incredibly inspiring people, and this is a group that really exemplifies that. And that's our hope for education, music education, post-pandemic, in the pandemic and post-pandemic as well. So I just am totally inspired by these people.
Thank you, David.
I had two thoughts about at least music making in the pandemic. First off, there's been, well, I guess the sad part of it is, like, if we had any doubt that it's awesome to make music in person, I'm positive that that is true. Like, it was such withdrawal. Everyone, all the musicians I know went through, I think are still going through. But there's been all these like silver linings, which I think we've all been trying to find silver linings to get through this. But one is I'm actually been playing regularly with people who I don't live in the same town with, which they're people that are close friends and collaborators that I played with irregularly, but now we can have like a weekly date because all of a sudden we figured out this technology that was just, I feel like a lot of this was just kind of sitting around waiting to be utilized. And I know David did a lot of work with this, doing a lot of work with this for a long time, but it's like most of us didn't have to use this network performance. So this idea that I'm playing with people in Seoul and Massachusetts and other places in Los Angeles tonight, and earlier today I was playing with people in Ohio, and I have students at CalArts who are in Switzerland, through the US, all the way to Vietnam right now. It's really kind of mind-boggling. So I think it also, I guess, was what the internet was supposed to be about, too, connecting everyone. And I think that's been a silver lining that we've been forced into that a little bit.
Thank you, Sam. That's very insightful as well. And as we come out of this condition, we're going to retain the positive aspects of the techniques that we have learned as we add to that the positive aspects of what we have been used to from our traditions. So it's going to be really interesting how all of that blends for the future of music making. And we're just going to continue exploring this so that we come out, with the best skills we have. Let's see. Rosa says, not sure if this was mentioned. I'm wondering what program medium did you use for the improv? Well, we used a program. They used a program. I wasn't involved in the improvisation, but I hope to in the future. Called Sonobus. It's a program that allows people to play together, and then the result of that was distributed, as Pari says here, broadcast through software called Onibus, Onibus. So those were the main things in addition to Zoom that were used tonight.
Yeah, once you have a good internet connection, the delay and those real-time interaction thing is really great on Sonobus. Yeah, I was 1,000 miles away from you guys, but I couldn't feel any uncomfortable thing on the audio side. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
there is this thing called the speed of light, which it seems to be a constant around the universe. I don't know. There is a theory that that could be a value that evolves in various universes, but we have to work with that. And in years past, I've worked with it in terms of building the delay into the composition, the rhythm of the composition. But we have figured out a way to deal with this the best we can. And, you know, I think as we go through the universe and we maybe discover intelligent life a long way away, we'll have to figure out that communication is actually co-creative. It's about we send out indications of who we are, and they interact with indications of other people other forms of intelligence about who they are, and they interact in this long time frame. And maybe that'll be something that we learn to deal with. So we're just dealing with like tiny delays, but what about these wonderful long delays we might find that develop as kind of a consciousness of the universe? Okay, I'm going on and on.
David, we had a betting pool to see how long it would take you to mention the speed of light.
Okay, all right. I wonder who won. Okay, all right. I'm waxing on, but this has been a fantastic conversation. I'm not sure if there are any further dimensions of this conversation that people would like to engage in. I'm just thrilled to death that there are still 33 people watching. That's really fantastic.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who stayed with us and who watched the show and who have participated in this conversation. I think it's really fantastic.
Thank you.
So
This was amazing. I mean, it was the closest thing that I felt, to being in the ROD in so long. So it's, it's
right,
it's
right.
really cool.
A lot of thanks coming in. Meltem says, "Love you guys."
We
So
love you, Meltem.
we love
We love you too.
love all of you guys, and I think it's just wonderful. So thank you so much for everybody who has stayed with us and tuned in and participated in this. So I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your evening wherever you are, or rest of your morning wherever you are, or rest of your day wherever you are. So this has been a great DMA Showcase 2020, and thank you. I'm totally inspired.
Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you all.